So before you start the home showing process, you need to make sure you let your buyers know there is no such thing as a perfect home. It doesn't exist, right? I've built custom homes with clients before. By the time they get done through the building process, they look back and they go, oh, I wish I would have put this light switch over there. I should have put the doorway for this room over there. I shouldn't have put windows there. We should have done a sliding glass door. And guess what? Now they're down to about 75% of what they really thought was the perfect home. So what I tell our clients is, when you're out looking for homes, if you find 75% of what you're looking for, that is a win. That is good enough. There is no such thing as a perfect home. If you want to look for a perfect home, I may not be the realtor for you because they don't exist. So let's pick out the top 5 non-negotiable things you have to have in that next home. So then that way when we go out, we're looking at those 5 things. Now, if you want to add a 6th, guess what? We're going to remove one of these. You're not allowed to have 6. You can only have 5 things. Same thing goes when you're showing the houses. Learned this tip from my dad. When you get done showing your very first house, walk up to the front door, put your back up against the front door, and ask them, is this your favorite house we've seen? And then you laugh because it's the very first house, so of course it's their favorite, right? Now you go to the second house, you show the second house, you walk to the front door to leave, put your back against the door, turn and look at them and go, all right guys, is this your favorite house or is it the first one we looked at? Because you can only have one favorite. Okay, now you've shown the third house, you do the same thing. They're only allowed to keep one favorite. If not, you're gonna confuse them. The houses are all gonna start to run together, but if nobody's gonna forget number 1 if they have to pick number 1. But if you go show them 5 houses and go like, all right, give me a call later, let me know what you thought of all of them. No, like you gotta keep number 1 focused in their brain so they stay like focused on the goal. And the goal is buying a house, right? Then guess what happens after day 1? They have one favorite house. Then you can ask them, hey, are you ready to make an offer on your favorite home? No, we're not ready yet. There's too many houses on the market. We wanna go see them all. Okay, great. You go out day 2 tomorrow. After you get done with the first house, you turn, put your back against the door, and you look at it and you say, is this your first house? Or is this your favorite house? Yes, it's our favorite. Okay, so we're replacing the one from yesterday? Because you're only allowed to have one number 1. We're not gonna have our favorite from yesterday and our favorite from today. You gotta have one. So is that one gonna beat out the house from yesterday? Now you go show them the 4 houses, they still are focused on house number 1. If you let them think they can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like who cares about number 5? Number 5's a loser. Number 1 is number 1, right? You want to keep them focused on number 1. I don't want to hear like, well, I like features in number 3. Tie that back into the 75%. If house number 1 has 75% of what you're looking for, guess what? We can add the feature from number 3 that you like, the green wall or the purple thing, and then you can add that feature back in, okay? But like we can change the cosmetic of the home, but if it's got 75% of what you're looking for, meaning the right neighborhood, the right size lot, it's got the swimming pool, it's in the right school district, right? Those are all things that like are very important. Those are usually on that top 5 must-have list, but not the peach carpet or the I want a tiled bathroom walls, you know, like all the little things that they want that are details can be changed. One of the reasons you keep number 1 in that buyer's mind is you can always tie them back to it. Like if you showed them 15 houses but they always had one number 1, they can go back and go like, remember guys, we looked at 15 houses, none of them ever made it to number 1. This is the best house on the market and you said so. One of the other big factors that I see leading to buyer's remorse is the price of the property. A lot of times buyers will put the offer in and go, oh my God, am I overpaying? Oh, and they start to freak out, right? How you can stop this is make sure you're pulling comps from the neighborhood beforehand. Make sure that they are making a legitimate offer. I've seen so many agents that just do what the buyer says to do. Now, is that being an advocate for your client? If they want to overpay, are you allowing them to overpay? Are you letting them make offers that are at market value because you've done the research and you are a professional and know what the hell you're doing, right? Your job is to look out for your client and make sure that they're making a legitimate offer that is going to appraise, because remember, just because they want to pay $300,000 for it, if it's only going to appraise for $280,000, we got a problem. And that actually can lead to some buyer's remorse when the appraisal comes in low. They could go, you know what? I don't see the value in this because neither did the appraiser, I'm out. So making sure that you do a CMA, make sure you're pulling comps on the front end before that offer is made to make sure that, hey, you know what? This is a good investment for my client. You know what? This is gonna appraise when the appraiser comes out. That is doing what is best for your client. Another thing you can do to head off buyer's remorse is do some due diligence on the back end. Secret tip, go look at the history in the MLS, go look at the documents section, go look at some old seller's disclosures for that particular property to make sure that there isn't a history of flooding or termites or something that may not be noted on the current seller's disclosure. You can find on an old one potentially, or go look at some old pictures, right? Look at pictures from the last time it was listed. If there's a wall that's no longer there now because this renovation that happened, well, do you need to go make sure that permit was pulled? Or make sure that Mr. Johnny homeowner didn't grab a hammer on a Saturday morning and say, I'm gonna take this wall out, and take the wall out himself and try to do all the rewiring and the electrical shit without getting a permit and making sure a proper contractor was in there to do the work. That is doing some due diligence on the back end to save what could be potentially an issue later on when you get under contract. One of the other key components that can lead to buyer's remorse is fluctuation in an interest rate while they're shopping for homes. The market has been very volatile lately when it comes to interest rates. So basically, a 0.5 point jump could freak out the buyer potentially and say, hey, I don't want to buy a house at this market because 0.5 point more, that's going to raise my rate by $68 a month. Well, take that $68 a month, break it down by a daily cost of what would be potentially $2 a day, right? And remind them, hey, are you sure you really want to get out of the home searching market because of $2 a day, right? Break it down into a smaller, manageable number that your buyer can understand and would be still willing to move forward in purchasing that home. Here's another secret tip you can also remind your client. If they're talking about continuing to potentially rent, rents have been climbing typically about 10% a year. So on a $1,500 a month rent, that's $150, right? $150 a month, that is more than the interest rate going up 0.5%. So you need to tie the rent price and the rent going up back to the interest rate, showing them that the interest rate, even paying oh my God. I thought it was gonna be a hold it off. Rents have climbed at almost 10% the last couple years. So continuing to rent and paying, let's say you're renting for $1,500, if rents go up 10%, now you're paying an extra $150. That is still less than a mortgage payment going up, 0.5%. So your buyer's now under contract. Again, this is not the first time I'm gonna tell them this. Hopefully it's the third or fourth time that you're telling them this. But this is where you tie back and remind them that this is going to be a bumpy road. There will be speed bumps between now and closing, right? One of the things you can look at, and I just had to tell one of my sellers this the other day, I will let you know when it's okay to worry. My job is to worry for you. I'll let you know when we have an issue. You're not allowed to worry. That's what I'm getting paid to do for you, is worry, okay? So if you're not setting that expectation, if you're getting under contract going, oh my God, this is gonna be so awesome, everything is gonna be perfect all the way till closing, you're setting them up for failure because it never goes smooth. I don't care who it is. I could sell a house to my mom and it's gonna be a rocky road through closing because there's too many people, too many moving parts. That's why we have a job to begin with, right? We have a job because it's not easy. So if you tell your client this is gonna be a smooth road all the way to closing, bullshit. You're not being honest with your client. You need to let them know, hey, this is gonna be a somewhat rocky road. And then guess what? If you go through it and it happens to be one of the smooth ones, which is very rare, then guess what? Now you can look back and go, man, that wasn't as bad as I made it out to be, right? Now you've set an expectation that it's gonna be rocky and it wasn't, so now you're the superhero. You're probably gonna get more referrals from it. But if you go and tell them, no, this is gonna be absolutely perfect, and then it's a fucking shit show, you're screwed. Referrals? Nope. Another agent in the market's gonna get all the referrals because you weren't honest with your client up front. Fuck yeah. Hey guys, look, the bottom line is most buyer's remorse is stemmed from fear. So the better job that you can do taking fear out of your buyer's mind, the more likely you're gonna get to closing and the more likely you're gonna get to a smooth closing without any obstacles you have to jump through and have to fight over, because you've taken that fear, you've let the client know that it's your job to help guide them. You're gonna be the lighthouse, you're gonna be the guiding light, taking them through the process. But if they get fearful, you have to tie it back into the emotion of why they started the process to begin with.